Call the March meeting of the Beaufort County Board of Commissioners to order. At this time, I'll ask Commissioner Langley if he'll do the invocation and Commissioner Bren to do the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'll ask you to stand at this time.
Let us pray. Eternal God, our Father, we are grateful and thankful that you have allowed us to assemble here one more time. Father, we ask that you grant your peace upon this meeting, that we can agree and disagree in love. Guide our thoughts and our mind. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Turn and face the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I'll ask if any of the commissioners has a conflict of interest on any of the agenda items tonight. Hearing none, we'll move to approve the agenda. So this time I entertain a motion to approve the agenda or to add or to delete from the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion to approve?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'd like to remove a couple of items.
You're going to make a motion? Okay.
So, Chairman's quick.
I'll withdraw mine.
Okay.
Or you can.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to remove item number 15 and 16. We discussed at the last board meeting, item 15, there's no need to rediscuss it. And we have a meeting upcoming when we discuss the budget with the school board on item 16, and that would be the appropriate place to discuss the study that they're having done on school population and district lines. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Discussion.
Okay.
Both of those are items that I've placed on the agenda. Item 15 is building inspection supervisors required to maintain minimum level of certification. This, again, there was not a motion made on this at the last meeting. This was a discussion item. There will be a motion. I will make a motion at this meeting that the supervisor of the building inspection is required to obtain the minimum level of certification. And the purpose of that has to do with competency and ethics. If we had someone above the level of building inspector who also had a license that he could lose, the Belhaven Hospital would never have been destroyed, because we would have had someone in a supervisory position, hopefully, that knew enough to know what a conflict was and when we're doing political favors using our government. So this should stay on the agenda for the purpose so that I can make that motion to require that the county have competency so that we're not out tearing down hospitals and doing political favors for our buddies. That's the reason that should stay on there. So I would like for these to be voted on individually.
Okay.
I'll amend my motion to remove item 15 from the agenda.
Okay. And we had a second? Still,
Yes, second.
Okay, by Commissioner Brand. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor of taking item number 15 off the agenda, raise your right hand. Those opposed? 6-1.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to remove item 16.
5-2.
I'm sorry.
Who
I'm
was the
sorry.
second one?
5-2.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like
I
to...
wouldn't have voted against it, so we wouldn't have to hear it again next month.
Yeah, it's going to be on there again next month.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to remove item 16 from the agenda. School board status for school population, as I mentioned earlier, that will be discussed in the appropriate forum, which will be with the school board when they present their study on school population and district lines.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion.
Okay.
My fellow commissioner is very uninformed about what his responsibilities are in this particular area. He thinks it's his duty to go and vote for whatever the school board wants. The commissioners appropriate the money to the schools for their use for capital projects and for continuing expenses. It is our responsibility to make sure that we are not spending more money than we need to spend. We have 2,000 empty seats in the Beaufort County school system at this point in time, there is a very good possibility that the school board is going to come in with a request for capital funds to build another school. And so that you'll know what 2,000 seats is, 2,000 seats is 2 whole schools. So it is our responsibility as the protectors of the public's money and the public's capital to analyze these things so that we are thoroughly informed before we meet with the school board so that we can make an intelligent decision. About 4 or 5 years ago, this board commissioned a study. We paid $40,000 for it. And that study is in a blue book, and that study shows the number of surplus seats that we overbuilt on our last capital spending program in Beaufort County, that we overshot the budget by $8 million on a $33 million budget. Now we have 2,000 empty seats that are not properly used. This issue, Commissioner Buzzio is well aware of this. He's running interference for the school board. He's not representing you as a commissioner right now. He's representing the school board. I brought this issue up in the spring of last year when the school board first mentioned that they wanted capital to build new schools. I brought up the study that should be reanalyzed and looked at to make sure that students are go to proper districts so that the schools can be full that need to be full. The truth of the matter is, we have a school at Chocowinity that is overcrowded as a primary school, but we have other schools that are half full. Only half of the seats are used. Redistricting solves this problem. The school board told us at that time that they were not going to redistrict because they would not get reelected. Gee, what kind of public officials are those that can't make a decision? So Commissioner Buzzio is running interference for the school board so that they can come in for one of these slam dunk capital programs. It is our responsibility to make that decision, not the school board's, because we represent you and we tax you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
if I may, the school board has authorized a study to be done by the Department of Public Instruction. It's a feasibility efficiency study on classrooms and student population. Currently, there's only 1,000 usable classroom seats that could be utilized. There are 4 schools where there's the population where most of these 1,000 seats are, and that's Southwest Aurora, that's Southside High School, that's Northside High School, and that's Northeast High School, where the 1,000 seats. The other seats are being used for advanced college degrees. You can't fill a classroom with 25 students. They'll be used for advanced calculus. You can't fill the classroom with 22 students. Therefore, reading recovery students, you can't fill a classroom with 22 students. And if for second language students, you can't fill a classroom with 22. So you have 6 or 8. So those are some of the seats that are being counted. I'm assuming now, after hearing this discussion, that Commissioner Richardson is advocating redistricting. Now, I can just imagine redistricting is going to be a problem. I guess we could take kids from Washington. We could change the Northside High School line and bring it to close to the Washington High School. We can take kids from Washington and transfer them to Northside High School. We can take kids from Washington, transfer them to Chocowinity to Aurora. That's up to the school board to make those decisions. That's not up to this board to make the decisions. We are going to have a meeting with the school board, and these issues will be discussed, and they'll make their recommendations to us. But this is not a commissioner's discussion or topic for us to discuss until the school board and the DPI, Department of Public Information, completes their study. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I call the motion.
Mr. Chairman, there's a lot more to this. The study that the school wants to do is $250,000.
Everybody gets a chance to talk.
Another $250,000 of your money?
Gentlemen, we're voting to take this off. We're not having a discussion.
I call question.
Okay? We can't have the question until everybody has a chance to say something at least one time. Jerry, would you like to say anything?
Not a word.
Oh, another Jerry.
Ed,
Ditto.
Not a word.
and you call for the question? I did. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, calling for the question is a debatable issue, and the debate is not finished.
Yes, it is, but
You're ruling that
chairman-
debate is
the
finished
chairman
and you're
is-
shutting me down.
The chairman is shutting you down.
You're shutting me down.
Yes.
Thank
We're
you.
going to take a vote. All those in favor of deleting this off of the agenda, raise your right hand. 6. All those opposed? 6-1. Okay. We got 2 off the agenda. Any other comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion to
So
approve the
moved.
rest of the agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Booth. Was there a second? Second by Commissioner Buzzio. All those.
Point of discussion. Are you
Okay.
going to cover the consent agenda as a
No,
separate?
that's a separate item.
Okay.
That'll be a separate
I
item.
just wanted to be sure.
Thanks. Thanks for the information. Okay, all those in favor of the agenda, raise your right hand. All those opposed? 6-1. Okay. We're down to the public hearing. Can I have a motion to go into the public hearing?
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Langley, second by Commissioner Evans. All those in favor of the motion to go into the public hearing, raise your right hand. Unanimous. This time I'll recognize our county manager, Brian Alligood, for his opening comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This is a public hearing required by statute to receive public comments on a proposed economic development partnership between the county and the Committee 100. As you are aware, the Committee 100 made a proposal at the last meeting to enter into an agreement to establish a limited liability corporation that the county and the Committee 100 would be partners in to build an industry-ready building in the industrial park. In the industrial park, this is the city-county industrial park. The county owns 55% of that park. The city of Washington owns 45% of that park. At your last meeting, you made a motion and approved that to acquire the city's 45% interest in lot number 2 for a price that was 5.507 acres at $7,000 an acre for a total of $17,347.05. That transaction was completed and recorded today. You are now the sole owner of lot number 2. As part of the proposed agreement, you would contribute that entire interest in that lot, $38,549, to the LLC and up to $77,653 in project costs for the industry-ready building. The maximum county contribution for the project costs to the LLC would be no more than $35,000 in any one fiscal year. As part of its contribution, the Committee 100 would contribute $200,000 to the LLC and obtain and guarantee a loan for the remaining project costs. The county would not be liable for that loan, only the Committee 100. And the county and the Committee 100 would share in any profits based upon their equity status at the time of either a lease or a sale of that property. The county the county intends to use general fund revenues as its source for funding of this project. So that is your opening statement regarding this.
Thank you, Brian. This time we'll entertain,
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
May I ask the manager a question? Brian, I believe that we had discussion that we wouldn't pay no more than at the very outset, $105,000. Is that correct?
You'll pay
$35,000 for 3 years, I believe is what we said.
You'll pay up to no more than $77,653. The difference in that was that the city was not participating. The original proposal was about 100 and some, but when you've bought the city's piece, so you're contributing.
I got you.
So that's why that number is less for your total contribution in cash. The total contribution essentially is the same.
Gotcha.
if we have anyone here to speak, I ask that you go to the podium and give us your name.
Ray Leary, representing the Citizens for Better Government. The taxpayers in Beaufort County should be skeptical of this proposal, especially the creation of the limited liability corporation with the county as a participant. The discussion last month was centered on the exclusion of the county's liability beyond $116,202. Hopefully, there will be an explanation in the agreement, which is not at this time available for public inspection, that clearly defines that there will be no future exposure of liability to the county in this project. Citizens for Better Government can support this project under the following conditions. There will be language in the agreement that all the funds and the value of the property deeded to the Committee of 100 toward this project will be recovered, either through the sale or lease of the building or from the Committee of 100. Should a future owner receive grants for economic development requiring matching funds from the future owner for job creation, and if those jobs do not materialize or are not sustainable, the business owner and the Committee of 100 will be 100% responsible for any clawbacks of grant funds. The economic developer and the Committee of 100 should have a letter of intent to purchase or lease the building. This letter of intent does not have to be released to the public, just assure that the Board of Commissioners have one. The notice of this public hearing does not accurately reflect the discussion that transpired in the February Commissioners' meeting. We recommend this project not be approved until the agreement has been drafted and is made available for public inspection. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm not going to talk about the Beaufort County Police Activities League, but I could, and I'm very much in support of them. I just want to thank the county commissioners for taking this step. I am a great exponent of public-private partnerships, and this is a classic one. And I think it's very important. Mr. Leary was asking about the liability limitation. The fact that we're doing this in a limited liability company, and the fact that the county will be a limited, not a general partner in this, not a managing partner. They will be limited. Their exposure is completely limited to their capital contribution, which is the land and the cash that goes in there. The other thing is that the taxpayers need to know is we are sharing any revenues, any net revenues, not any losses. The Committee of 100 will take any loss that we have on the disposal of this property. So I just want to thank you. I think it's a great opportunity for Beaufort County, and we really need some inventory for the economic developer to market. Thank you very much. And I'll answer any questions that might come up.
Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to go to the podium and make some comments. Speaking as a citizen. I understand what is being said. The mechanics of what is being said here is where the problem is. When we become a part owner in that LLC and there is a default, even though we may be called a limited partner, I have a sneaking suspicion that state law and the public outcry is going to be such that Beaufort County can't have its credit tarnished by the failure to make good on a commitment. What we talked about last month that is not laid out in these documents is the LLC is going to be 100% owned by the Committee of 100. We're going to do a separate agreement with the Committee of 100 because as long as we are a partial owner in the LLC, the bankers are going to want the county to sign on the loan. And when you sign on the loan, you may have a limited responsibility. There's probably some state law that says that we can't be a limited partner in this when this is all over with because the Local Government Commission oversees these things quite closely. So I implore this board to do what we talked about doing last month and not what has been changed and sneaked into here. And that is the Committee of 100 is going to own the LLC 100%, and we're going to have a separate agreement with them for the money that we put into this. That way, you taxpayers have no liability.
Anyone else have any comments?
My name's Dick Barber. I'm the president of the Committee of 100, and like Mr. Zeitman, I thank you for your wisdom last month. And years ago, this group of leaders, elected leaders, saw the wisdom of building an industrial park. And that park is well appointed. It's got all the utilities and features that most any business or a manufacturer might want, with one exception, and that's an available building. They don't want to come and buy land. They want to move into a building that's already in a stage that they can change it just a little bit, upfit it to their needs, and get up and running as fast as possible. And we think this industry-ready building is just that. It's what we're being told by a lot of experts around the state. And so we are trying to do things in just the right way. We have been going through this very methodically, step by step. Brian Allagood's helped us a lot. He's talked with the experts in Chapel Hill. There's only a few of those, by the way, but anyway. We think the plan that we're putting in place is both legal and appropriate, and would leave the county's exposure to a very minimum. And the Committee of 100 would take on all that. So again, thank you, and we encourage you to take the next step.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I believe we did last month speak about the county not having any obligation at all after we donate after we have the property bought, and we have no financial obligation to any part of the loan. I'm going to support this, but I want to make sure that before any contracts are signed or anything, I want to make sure that it states in there that the county will have no fiscal obligations.
Absolutely. I wish one of the key players in all this is Bob Rich. He's out of town right now, but he's been talking to bankers, all of the banks here in our community, and that's understood. We're not doing this on behalf of the county or even on behalf of the committee and the county. This is all about the committee borrowing the money. We'd be the only name on a mortgage or note. Right?
Correct.
100% sure.
I think it's been made pretty clear between the parties that the county is not in a position to sign any kind of a guarantee agreement
That's correct.
on this debt.
Right.
So our limitation is
Mr. Chairman,
the cash. Yes,
these
sir.
documents say that the LLC is going to be owned by the county and the Committee of 100. You cannot escape your liability when your name is on the document. The LLC must be owned 100% by the LLC. And then we do our agreement with them as a separate agreement. We're contracting with them at that point. That's how it works.
We're going to get into discussion later on as far as the agreement, key items in the agreement. It's on here for action. So we'll have that discussion when we get to the agreement itself.
Well, and just for clarification, I don't think anybody on our staff has said we're an attorney. The county attorney and the attorney for the Committee 100, Mr. Chip Edwards, clearly understand the direction of this board, and that this board will not have any liability in this project. However that is drafted with the attorneys, they clearly understand that, and that's the way it will be drafted. Now, we do not have those documents completed yet. Mr. Edwards is not completed with those documents. You have a bullet point list like we provided last month on that on your decision item. And if you'd like for us to hold on that, we can do that, because I don't want anybody to have any issues.
I would like for the document to be completed before we vote on it.
Well, and that's fine. You've got a second. This is just the public hearing to hear that.
Right.
But I want to be clear with this board that both of the attorneys clearly understand that the county is not in a liability situation beyond the property that you're donating and beyond the cash that you're putting in, and that you will receive profits from this deal based on your equity ownership. So both attorneys clearly understand that, and they will draft those documents in that manner.
Anyone else want to address this in the public comment? If not, I'll entertain a motion to close the public
moved.
hearing. Got a motion by Commissioner Buzzio,
Second.
second by Commissioner Brin. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your right hand. Unanimous. Okay. We're down to the public comments. Kathy? And I'll remind each person that's going to the podium during the public comment, you're limited to 3 minutes, and we ask that you show respect for the citizens of Beaufort County.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I'm calling for the commission to censure Commissioner Hood Richardson. It is my opinion that
Mr. Chairman,
he no
point of
longer
order.
represents.
A point of order. You know, I don't mind her going ahead and saying this, but I want to point out to you that we had produced within the last year or so the rules of order for people coming in and making comments to commissioners. And at that time, it's in there that you can't come and attack politically a commissioner during the public comments. Although I will waive that and let this woman say whatever she wants to say. But you're not following the rules, Mr. Chairman. You should know the rules.
He just waived it.
Let me read item number 6. It says speakers will be courteous in their language and presentation and must refrain from personal attacks and use of profanity. Also, item number 7, only one speaker will be acknowledged at the time. I ask that you refer to the group and not any specific commissioner,
Yes, sir.
please. We've got a lot of people in here, and we need to show respect for each other.
I agree.
Thank you. And that includes our commissioners, too.
Okay. I believe that all of my things that I have to say in here are a matter of public record.
Okay?
And so if there are any questions, please feel free to stop me at any point. Okay. Anytime? Okay. There is a long documented history of misconduct, including up until today. Bullying county employees, planning director, department managers, these are all on tape, county inspectors and the county manager, along with citizens giving public comments at public meetings. This behavior has continued to escalate even up until today, in violation of human resource policy and resulting in creating a hostile work environment. This behavior would not be tolerated in a county employee, and it certainly would not be tolerated in a student. Not long ago, there were accusations hurled at Planning Director Seth Laughlin, quote, "You're killing people with what you're doing." Commission meetings have publicly and disgracefully defamed the tax assessor and the assessor's office, despite several calls of points of order and being ruled out of order by the chairman. More recently, as of last month, the planning director, building inspectors, county manager, and the board were targets. They were accused of, quote, "collusion, corruption, not doing their duty, dishonesty," unquote. And this collusion resulted in the loss of the Bellhaven Hospital. There were claims that, quote, "charges have been brought," unquote, against some of these people, also untrue. There were claims that the county manager has been, quote, "doing dishonest political favors for his buddies," unquote. These are serious charges for which there is no proof. These folks have been defamed, slandered, and libeled, attempting to damage their good name and reputation. Let's remember that children also watch these recordings and are sometimes present in the meeting room when this behavior occurs.
3 minutes is
Oh,
up. Thank you.
thank you. I was on my last sentence. Thank you.
I understand we have at least 1 or 2 more people that would like to address the group.
Well, I'm certainly not a public speaker. My name is Tony Hale. I live about 7 miles out Market Street, and I just want to say something about the boat ramp at Durham's Creek. I think this would be a bad idea to sell that. There's a lot of people in the county that use that ramp, and that's the only ramp that you can get in Durham's Creek on without going across the river or Blunt's Creek or somewhere and then riding a long ways. That thing's been there all my life. I've used it about 60 years, and probably longer than that when I was fishing with my granddaddy and stuff. But anyway, I'd like to ask the commissioners to kind of think it over before you sell that place. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, Mr. Chair, my name is Wayne Sawyer, and I'm from Blunt Creek. I'm from Core Point, and I have a place on Durham's Creek. And I'm here tonight to speak on the same topic that Mr. Tommy Hill did here. That ramp was put in 100 years ago. We all know that. And the last several years, me and Mr. O'Bonner approached the commissioners about taking it over, and commissioners at that time, I think Hood was there, said they didn't want anything to do with it. So then we sojourned up to Raleigh ourselves and spoke to the Wildlife Commission about taking it, and they said it wasn't enough property to take it. So y'all do what you want to with it. So the ramp has been maintained by, of course, Mr. Earl's passed away now, but me and Mr. Earl's wanted to put hog slats in there. The little pier was built by some boys from out there at Edward, and we kind of keep it clean. We keep the grass mowed around it. As far as I know, there's been no problems other than people backing their boats up there. Their trailer's too far down in the deep hole there. But I encourage you tonight, as a commissioner, to do what's good for the south side of the river, and that's keep the Durham Creek boat ramp open. Like Mr. Hill said, we don't have any ramps there except up Cotton Patch Landing or across the river. And us boys on the south side don't get a whole lot from y'all, but tonight we're pleading for your will and pleasure to be done, and that is to leave the Durham Creek boat ramp just as it is, and we'll assure you that we, the people that use it, will keep it clean and keep it up to date. As a matter of fact, it's probably one of the best public free ramps around. When I say public free, it hasn't cost anybody a dime except me and Mr. O'Bonner. And we've done that out of generosity of our hearts, and I thank you for your time and effort. And please consider that request.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Hi, I'm Marilyn Hale, Tommy's wife, and I'm not a public speaker either. But I'd like to emphasize that the ramp is great for fishing, as well as it brings people from all over eastern North Carolina and as far as Raleigh and different places. And I'm sure while they're here that they spend money for gas, food, bait, that kind of stuff. We need to take that in consideration. Plus, in the paper today, it says something about liability. People have been parking on the side of the road. I've known Tommy for 44 years and been fishing with him for 44 years, and I've never known of any accident because of vehicles parked side of the road. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Hey, I'm Carl Bonner, and might make a connection that I'm from Bonnerton, and my dad was Earl Bonner, and he and Mr. Wayne have put some money into that boat ramp. It's been there all my life. My grandfather ran a barge up and down Durham Creek for his general store. We sure would like to keep it open, and if you guys don't want to keep it open, I'm willing to buy it to keep it open because it's a great resource for everybody around. And like Mr. Wayne said, we're working to keep it clean, we're working to keep it going, and all that's just volunteer work. It hasn't cost anybody anything. So if you guys won't keep it open, I'll sure buy it and keep it open. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Okay, if not, we'll get back to the agenda. We're down to item number 6, the approval of the items for consent. Entertain a motion to.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to pull item number 6, item number 7, and item number 8 for some discussion.
6, 7, and 8.
Yes.
Okay. 6, 7, and 8 will be moved down to items for decision, and that'll be at the tail end, which will be 21, 22, and 23. Any other items to be removed from the consent? I'll entertain a motion to approve. Got a motion. Is there a second? Second. Got a second. All those in favor of the approval of the remaining consent items, raise your right hand. All those opposed? Vote 6-1. Okay, we're down to item number 8, items for presentation. Beaufort County Powell presentation. Mr. Al Powell.
Who opposed it?
Just hit that. Okay, thank you. Okay. I'd like to thank the committee chair, vice chair, all those distinguished committee members, distinguished guests, for the opportunity to say a few words. Back in the spring of 2012, I came before you and indicated we were starting a PAL program. I explained what it was. I'm a retired FBI agent, former FBI pilot, former bank examiner, and and so forth. And I got with the chief, Stacy Drakeford, Dr. Phipps, Ben Morris from Beaufort County Community College, and some other folks, and we started the PAL program. And the objectives were basically to introduce kids to science, technology, aviation, boating, our STEM program, and also improve the relationship between all first responders, including law enforcement, military, teachers, fire department officials, make an atmosphere of trust, communication, and understanding, and also introduce these kids, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, to these types of careers. What I'd like to do now is just give you an update on where we have come since 2012, where we'd like to go, and just basically lay the foundation for getting on your agenda in May to request perhaps some additional funding to help us bring this tremendous program to fruition. You already have the package, so I'm just going to touch on a few items to keep myself within the 3-minute time limit. But this is the only program of its type in the United States. It's very unique. We're featured on the Borough's Welcome Fund program page, our primary funder, and the city of Washington was gracious enough to give us some land, lease us some land to build what is the only facility of its type in the country, a 6,000 square foot aviation technology and fitness center that is about 75 to 80% complete as we speak. Just some highlights. As I say, our program is going to combine aviation, boating, life skills, and fitness. I'm very proud to say my vice president of the PAL program is sitting in here with me, Jim Matson, who's the director of the Beaufort County Health Department, and that just unifies our commitment between science, technology, fitness, diet, and nutrition. I have a flyer, which you all, that's part of your package, which kind of gives an example in a nutshell. We have introduced NASA and a few other organizations that are now part of our program, North Carolina Space Grant, the Beaufort County Community College, which I'm pleased to have as a partner, the ECU School of Engineering, and so forth and so on. You have a detailed list of some of our partners, which are there. You see it's quite extensive. Lee Chevrolet has been instrumental in helping us, as well as has Potash, Grady White Boats, and so forth. We're building our facility based on help from Lowe's Home Improvement, Builders First Source, and Lowe's. Now, what I wanted to do is just say we've helped over 1,000 kids since our program has started. They've been through our program. And we're exposing kids to dream the dream, because some of them would never consider being able to fly an airplane, which we expose them to, or operating a boat, or learning about the science and technology of what makes a boat or a aviation type vessel operate. So we expose them to that stuff. We have, for every kid that we're able to save through our program, it saves the state $75,000 in incarceration fees. If we can save 3 kids in one of our programs, we pay for our building in total. This is a schematic of our building that you have in your package, and some of the things we have bought or going to buy in our building include things like a 3D printer, a wind tunnel, electric go-karts. We have the kids building electric carts, learning how to operate aircraft and drones through a software-loaded program. We'll buy a bunch of simulators like that to have in our facility, which will operate and simulate airplanes and boats. We're going to have the only full-motion simulator in the world in operation in a facility of our size. We're currently completing a lease agreement on that as we speak. And then the kids will actually fly a plane like that, which is based out of Greenville. Dillon's Aviation is one of our partners, and they work very closely with us. The kids will build airplanes and model boats as part of their hands-on projects. And then we're going to have a fitness program where we'll actually help to work with the Beaufort County Health Department, formulate strategic planning for health and priorities for kids in the low-income and at-risk category. We also work very closely with the North Carolina Estuarium and expose the kids to marine ecology. And so that in a nutshell is just some of the highlights of what our very unique program does, and we've made some very historic ranks, and we're very proud of our relationship with NASA, the North Carolina Space Grant Program, the educational organizations that I mentioned, and I trust I'll be afforded the opportunity to come back in May and maybe give an assessment of where we are financially, and perhaps request that our name be put on the list for some program funding. Thank you for your time, and I'll be happy to entertain any questions that I haven't touched on.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Al, those flight simulators, what did they cost a piece?
Approximately $5,500, and the full motion simulator is about $80,000, but we're working out a lease agreement and getting it far below cost. And all the organizations that we're dealing with are giving us the merchandise far below cost, because we are a nonprofit and we are the only organization of this type in the country right now.
And you said that these kids are going to build airplanes, but not to fly themselves.
No.
motorized, but,
Replica, accurate replica planes so they can have hands-on experience on the four forces of flight that cause the aircraft to fly. And we also work very closely with the Coast Guard Auxiliary, of which I'm proud to be a member, and we expose the kids to a certified boating program. And then the Little Washington Sailing School has been a partner of ours for 4 years. And for 4 years, the kids also learn how to operate a sailboat as part of our program. That's why I'm saying this is a very unique collaboration of partners. And the Boys and Girls Club is involved in it, Bishop McIntyre and his church, the school district. We collaborate and get kids from all over the county, including Aurora, in our program.
very good.
Anyone?
Chairman.
Yes.
Al, could you go back to the slide that shows the building?
Yes.
Now, this property is on the airport property?
It's right across the street from the new $1.3 million General Aviation Terminal. And anyone flying into Beaufort County, this will be the very first building they see.
Now, the city of Washington donated that property? What was the arrangement with Washington?
They've given us a preferential lease arrangement for 10 years with an option to renew.
And how many students will you run through here during a normal class? What would your normal class size?
Well, for the summer school program, we would run between 24 and 26 because this is an intensive hands-on program. It costs about $1,800 per student, and because we have grants, it's absolutely free to each student.
And your students come from,
All over the county,
so mainly county?
yeah.
County
But,
students.
I mean, say probably about 35% come from Washington, the city of Washington, but we have kids from Bath. We tried to work out an arrangement with Aurora for a transportation mechanism. That's been the logistical issue. But we try to get kids from all over the place. I mean, as we speak right now, we have an after-school program focusing on computer-aided design at Chocowinity Middle School. We have 18 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders there right now. So our focus is clearly countywide.
And since the program's been in effect, I think I saw a number here of 935?
That's since 2015. It's well over 1,000 if you go back to 2012 when we first started.
Okay, all right, thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks. We'll move into items for decision. The first one is the public-private economic development partnership with the Committee 100. Brian, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. This is your item regarding the public-private economic development partnership with Committee 100. As we discussed earlier, you have attached in your agenda item the bullet points that were discussed at the last meeting and the bullet points that are being used by the Committee 100's attorney and will be reviewed by the two attorneys to make sure that they fit all those. Now, we don't have that document yet. Our anticipation was that Mr. Edwards was going to be able to be done with that operating agreement by now, but he doesn't. We're happy to postpone that to the next meeting if you want us to do that. We're happy to do that because we don't want there to be any question. But I would draw your attention to two items in here. Number 10, bullet point, and that reads that the LLC would borrow money to develop, or the new LLC, that Beaufort County will not be liable for the loan regarding the project, and the Committee 100 would guarantee that loan. And then item number 12, which says that the county still has a say-so in the sale of that property because it has to be sold in accordance with General Statute 158 7.1, which is the economic development statute. You still have to acquire fair market value of that property, and you've got to be able to have a say-so. So they clearly understand that if we're not transferring that, the economic development statutes allow you to sell at less than fair market value if you are receiving jobs or tax value, and there's a formula that's laid out about that. It has to be every 10 years, and you have to show where you're essentially receiving that fair market value. So that is going to be a part of this agreement as well, as we talked about. So we are happy. I sense that the board does not want to move forward with this until you have the document, and we're happy to do that. Like I say, we had anticipated that document would have been done by now, but Mr. Edwards is still working on it. So we'll take your direction on where you want to go.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
in order for this thing to work properly, there's got to be two documents. Really, there's only one document for us, and that's the agreement with the LLC. If we are part owner of that LLC, we have liability that you cannot escape. So the document needs to be an agreement between the county and the LLC.
Commissioner Richard, I am not an attorney, and that's why we are depending upon the county attorney and the Committee 100's attorney to put that document together in an appropriate manner that this board has directed them to. So
Well-
Again, I would leave that to the county attorney to make sure that what this board has said is they don't want any liability regarding this, to make sure that document is drafted in the appropriate manner.
Well-
I don't know how to direct him to do that. That's
The
his-
other document that we need is the incorporation documents for the LLC that are filed with the Secretary of State, so that we can make sure that our name is not on it. We need both of those.
If the county does not sign a guarantee agreement, then tell me what our liability is.
Mr. Chairman, I'm
No,
not.
I'm
not
asking,
an
I'm
attorney,
asking
and I'm not
Commissioner
gonna-
Richardson.
Guys, a lot of this is just common sense. If your name is not on the document that you own it, then you don't have to pay the bills. It's that simple. You have a separate agreement that separates you from the LLC. And I'm disappointed that we came back in here tonight with the same language that we had last week. We're talking about this same thing. If we're a part owner of that LLC, even if it defaults and you say the county doesn't have to pay anything, it's going to show up on your bond rating. This is just common sense stuff. You don't need to go there.
I think our attorney has heard the comment loud and clear. I would still challenge the attorney to see if we could come up in the operating agreement language that clearly states to all those that need to know, because every lender and anybody that extends credit to this organization is going to want to have a copy of the operating agreement. And I think we can limit that liability in the agreement with a paragraph, putting everybody on notice that extends any kind of credit.
Only if you don't own part of the LLC. If you own part of the LLC, you're on the hook for something.
We'll leave that to the attorneys. How about that?
I'm not leaving it to the attorneys. I'm leaving it to this board and to me. I'm not abandoning my responsibility. And that's what I sense that you guys are trying to do. And we're going to wind up
No, we're not
again
doing.
with something we didn't want.
We're not. We've already discussed that we didn't want any obligation to the LLC. The lawyers are going to work it out, and we'll go from there. And you voted against it anyway, so I don't see where you got any concerns.
I'm a player in it looking after the county's interest. Just because I vote against something, Commissioner, doesn't mean that I'm abandoning my responsibility to the people that elected me to this office. I'm not buying into anything with my vote. I'm a member of this board, and I'm a full member of this board regardless of how I vote.
I'm assuming we're not taking any action, so we'll move on to item number 2, the Memorial Day celebration request from the City of Washington. Frank?
Thank you. I'm Frank Belote. I'm a member of the Washington Rotary. I'm the Rotary Foundation Chair, and I'm also a retired Air Force member. And we're coordinating the Memorial Day celebration for Washington, Beaufort County. We're asking for your support. Right now, we have the Marine Band coming down to give a concert. We have Major General Gordon Nash, who's retired and living in Chaco, and he's going to give a speech. And we'd like to follow that with a concert and a fireworks display, and we're asking for your help with the fireworks. And that's why I'm here.
Any questions?
Did we
What
budget
is help?
anything for this?
Sorry.
What is help? You're asking for help, but you just said help.
$5,500 for a fireworks show.
There is money in the tourism line item budget? Did you,
There is funding in the tourism line item budget to cover both requests that you have on the agenda without going and asking, now without pulling fund balance.
all right,
It would essentially delete that account if you chose to do that.
just remind the commissioners, we have 2 requests back to back, so.
Can we both, can we hear both of them, or how she's?
Let us clarify, though, is it 5,000 or 5,500?
5,500.
Okay, because we had 2 different numbers.
Okay, so your request was 55.
Yes.
What's the wishes of the commissioner? Do you want to vote on both of them at the same time? Go ahead and entertain, let
That's it.
Mr. Chairman,
No, wait a minute. We gave City of Washington $5,000 last year. Why did it go up $500?
That's the cost of doing business, and it was year before last.
Memorial Day last year?
How much
We
got
did
left?
2 years ago, right?
How much do you have? You have enough funds. I think there's about $14,000 left in that. 13,000 left in that economic development. I mean, in the tourism piece that you set aside this year in the budget. If you so chose to use that funds to do that. Otherwise, if you approve something, you'd have to go and we'd have to find it somewhere else, or you'd have to pull it from fund balance.
Mr. Chairman, I think the motion, when it's made, should include the money will come out of the tourism.
Okay.
So move.
You want to do it? All right, we got a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Now, it's a motion for 5,500 or 5?
5.
For 5, okay. The motion is for 5,000. It's been second. All those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay, we're down to item number 3, Greater Bath Memorial Day Celebration Request. Jason?
County Commissioners and county officials, how y'all doing? I'm Jason Pear, President of the Greater Bath Foundation. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to come speak with y'all this evening. As you know, in 2016, we had a great event that a number of y'all, I see faces in the room that attended, and we had a wonderful turnout of a little over 5,000 people that came to the Bath area, plus our foundation ended up raising $110,000 in 4 months, which we gave the town of Bath proceeds back that we had left over. And the turnout of what we had with this celebration inspired a way to try to help Bath, but also bring some tourism to the county and bring people in. After we had the celebration, there were people all the way from Windsor, Williamston, Rocky Mount, other people that came in around that wanted to come. And you know, as you know, Bath has, there's not a lot going on in Bath and not a lot of things, but we're kind of trying to mold it again this year as 2 things. Number one, the Aurora Fossil Festival, which PCS was one of our major sponsors. They usually have the Aurora Fossil Festival that weekend. And one of the big things is that the people with Potash Corp Aurora and also people that went who came over to the event at nighttime thought it was a great conglomerate of together. And what we're going to try to market this to help with the tourism for Beaufort County is make it a Beaufort County day. Kind of go to the Aurora Fossil Festival during the day, come to Bath at night. We've got the Embers set up to play at 6 o'clock. And also we're going to have another big fireworks show like we did on the barge in front of Bonners Point. A couple other things we're looking at trying to do is, next year in 2018 is actually going to be a real statewide event, which will be probably I would say one of the last 300th celebrations to come around, which will be the 300th celebration of the death of Blackbeard. And that is going to be a really big event for 2018 that will be shared between Bath and Beaufort and Ocracoke. So there's a lot of things going to be coming around. We'll bring a lot of tourism to Beaufort County for 2018. So we're going to try to spearhead some things this year at the Memorial Day celebration to try to get people ramped up, get people talking, come to Beaufort County, spend some money, and do some things. So the reason I'm here tonight is last year y'all were so gracious to be able to help us as a sponsorship with our fireworks show of $5,000, and we wanted to know if y'all would be gracious enough to maybe help us again put on a fantastic event and try to help grow some tourism for Beaufort County.
So move.
Got a motion?
Second.
Second?
Mr. Chairman, a point of clarification, this money is going to come out of the tourism.
Tourism.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Got a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand.
All right, Jason.
Thank you,
Go ahead.
Commissioners. Thank you.
When they get through there, send them to Bellhaven to spend the night, Jason.
Yes, sir.
Get another town in there. Okay, we're at down to item number 4, DOT's traffic pattern change in front of the community college. Bill Kincannon?
Evening, Commissioners, Mr. Chairman. Well, first off, I'm Bill Kincannon. I'm the Project Development Engineer for NCDOT Division 2 in Greenville. What we're here for tonight is basically to get your approval, hopefully, on some proposed work that we're looking at on 264 in the vicinity of the community college. In 2015, this was the area at Neck Road was cited as a high accident, a high crash site location. A significant number of left turn crashes there at that location. Pretty much got our safety department's attention, and we started looking at a project. What could we do to improve that location? Since then, because we're looking there, when we go to these places, a lot of times we'll try to look outside the areas just slightly to make sure there aren't any other mitigating factors. And we started looking at the community college entrances, and we saw a crash pattern at several of the entrances there. And so we've came to the community college. We found out about the excuse me, I'm kind of dry this evening. We found out about the public safety training complex going on, getting built on one end of the project. So with that, you're going to have a significant number of large trucks moving in there. So what we've done is we've done some preliminary engineering. We haven't gone into the weeds with a full design, but we have some preliminary concepts that are going to involve protected left turn lanes, a median, some bulb out turnarounds. The majority of the crashes that are in this vicinity are rear end collisions, left turn collisions, and I've got a crash map here if any of you want to look at it. I apologize for not having this on a PowerPoint presentation, but I do have a map if any of y'all want to look at it, showing where the crashes are. But we're anticipating a median that is going to run from prior to the college all the way across. We'll have several openings for the college as well as the businesses in the vicinity. We don't want to block the businesses off. We can't have an opening for every driveway because we're basically, if we're doing that, we might as well not have the project where we're still allowing the same amount of left turns as we are. So what we're trying to do is channel traffic as much as possible, try to remove full left turn movements when we can, and control the situation instead of basically having a 5-lane free-for-all, which is what we have out there right now. So we have talked to the community college about it. We feel like we have their support. We do not have a final design, like I said. I've got my division traffic engineer, Steve Hamilton, up here who can talk in detail if you have any questions about the actual movements themselves. And the bottom line is we're seeking your support to go forward with this project. The project right now, as it was initially put together, was a safety project, and that project has a $500,000, and don't get me wrong, we're not asking the county for anything here as far as money. We can handle that. The safety projects are limited to $500,000. When we looked at the whole thing that we would need to do here, we're looking well in excess of that, and we've talked to the RPO, and the RPO is in support of putting this into an actual spot project and to be prioritized with the understanding that because it is a safety project, we would not have to be scored against all the other projects. It would pretty much be a go, but we do need your support on that.
Commissioner Booth.
I see you got the community college here, but have you had those businesses and residents input about this project?
We have not gone beyond talking to the community college.
I think we need to do that. I really do.
And I would agree. I would agree. And what we would typically do is we would try to get your support basically to go forward with this, because this is right now, we're spending money. We don't have a project yet. We're spending some initial monies to go forward with this and really do this correctly. What we would do is get your support. We would not, and that is not for the final project. We can go and do some preliminary design, get some maps made, and go and meet with, and I would anticipate literally, in this case, instead of having a public meeting, I would personally take myself and my traffic engineer, my project team, to every single business and all the residents up and down the road, try to set up a meeting.
I support safety. I really do. But I also support businesses too. I mean, and if we, and I'm gonna support your project, but I wanna make sure that businesses have been informed. Because after we do something, it's kinda hard to undo it. And I suggest that sooner than later that you got the bread house out there, you got a convenience store, and you got other projects out there.
Right.
And I suggest you talk to them. I mean, because we could say yes, and I support it, I really do. But we got to live with these businesses here.
I understand that, and it's our anticipation that we're going to go out there and meet as soon as we get something. We have a preliminary drawing on paper. We want to basically see if you all had any questions about this, and then we were going to go, the next step would be to go out and meet with the businesses and the properties with folks.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
thank you for coming out tonight. I'm going to be in agreement with Commissioner Booth. I'm just wondering, has anybody took into consideration how much money these businesses are going to lose because they say, well, I'm not going to go in a turn lane. I'm just going to go in town and do my business.
We haven't studied this particular site. I'll tell you that. I will also tell you that there has been studies made of these sort of things. And the majority of the cases show that there's little, if any, impact. And as a matter of fact, in a lot of cases, there's an improvement because people feel like they can get in and out more safely now than they could before. They're not risking a head-on collision to turn left, and they're not risking trying to go across 3 lanes of traffic to get out of the store, so they can make a protected move into the store. And we do have the protected move into the store. So we are anticipating that for sure as an access point, get people in there with a protected left turn where they're not going to get rear-ended, and to get out safely and not have to go across 3 lanes of traffic. So we're trying to take that into consideration, but as a general rule in a situation like that, the studies have shown that people feel more safe, so actually their businesses can improve if people feel like they can get in and out without risking their lives.
Okay, that's a good answer.
We will, like I said, we will go out and meet with the store, with all the businesses, and as a matter of fact, with the homeowners. If we have to set up a little public meeting for that, we can, or if I have, I've gone, areas a lot more dense than that and met with every single business through there, talk and meet with them, try to get their concerns. I understand that, we're not going to, we are not going to provide full access for every driveway on 264 because if we did that, like I said, we would not be able to offer protected movement.
Okay, thank you very much.
Commissioner Langley?
How far along are you in, or how far down the road do you think?
Right now, this is very preliminary. We have not done, we've just done a minimum amount of engineering. We would have to get the project funded. The project would have to go through a few months of design, and we could probably then come in and show you exactly what we're looking at. As far as constructing the project, I would not anticipate that happening this year. It would probably be at best next year.
Okay.
Yes.
At what point do you have the public hearings then?
Pardon me?
At what point are there public hearings?
On a project like this, we typically are going to have a public hearing usually at about the 20% mark, where we're farther into design than we typically are where we are right now. This is very preliminary, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to get ahead of the projects and basically give you all the information so that when people call your offices, you have an idea of what we're talking about, or at least you're not surprised by, hey, look what DOT is trying to do, and at least you'll have an idea of what's coming your way. This is kind of basically right now today is a service to you as well as a service to us. We want to get your support. Typically, we're going to have a public hearing meeting at about the 25% range on the project. Once we have a good alignment, once we know where we're going to go with our turnarounds, where we're going to go with the openings. We've done some better, more in detailed surveying, which we have not done at this point. Right now, this is extremely preliminary.
Mr. Evans?
Mr. Kincannon, I've come out of Pamlico Plantation, and there's a lot of folks that live out there. And it is, as you said, crossing those 3 lanes and the rate of speed the cars are coming by is very dangerous. And I think it would be a big plus where you'd have to go down and right and then try and come back. I don't, coming out by that little general store there and getting across right in front of the community college is extremely dangerous.
It's challenging.
I wish you'd go down and look at Douglas Crossroads at stop down there too.
I also commute between Pantega and Washington for commissioner meetings and other activities, and I refuse to turn left to go in that convenient mart coming from Belhaven. Now, I'll stop there on the way back because it's a right turn into their driveway. But it's a very dangerous intersection.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a common thing. I think a lot of people are afraid in a 5-lane section to go across and try to make that turn against oncoming traffic given the speed limit that's out there.
Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman.
Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, can I ask one question?
Yes.
Mr. Kincannon, just to clarify, there have been some comments made regarding the 15th Street project and the raised medians. No, I know it's not. But what I want to clarify is public safety vehicle access. The raised medians that are being proposed in this are accessible, if they need to be, by an emergency vehicle. They have the ability to jump that.
At the 15th Street public hearing meeting, I'll go ahead and say it. You threw it out there, so I'll go ahead and say it.
Right.
15th Street public hearing meeting, and at every other public hearing meeting I've had for the projects in Greenville and elsewhere where we're putting a raised median, I've actually personally tried to talk with the emergency management people, the fire departments or whatever, and find out what they have and what they need. In this case, as in most of these projects that we're building, we can design and this is certainly the case of 15th Street, we're going to design the medians that can be accessed to, you can drive over. They're not going to be a straight up and down curve. They're going to be ramped up so that a truck or emergency vehicle can get up over them. That's a common design feature that we're going to put on these medians. We're going to put them on 15th Street. We're going to put them in Greenville. I understand the emergency access issue clearly.
Thank you. Just want to clarify that. Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we offer a letter of support for the DOT to pursue the above project.
Second.
All right, motion and second.
Question.
Question.
That still bothers me about, y'all can talk all you get ready. The problem that you have in Beaufort County with projects is you tell the people after you put them on the table. I still think, and I support it wholeheartedly, but the people that live out there and it's going to be affected should know about it as soon as we know about it. I just have a problem with that. That's the problem that you're having with 15th Street. The people learn about it after it was designed.
Sir, with all due respect, the project on 15th Street has been talked about.
Yeah.
And the median has been shown for 2 years.
And with all due respect, the people just learned about it. Just like we're gonna be starting getting calls probably Wednesday, Thursday, whenever Randy put this on the TV. We're gonna start getting calls. Right. And don't get me wrong, I love your project, but I'm just looking at the way that I'm not gonna be affected. But the guy that owned the store, the person that owned the house, the one that's out there, That's the ones that go to the community college. I don't go out there till Dr. Tanzis call me, you know.
That's very fair, and, you know, I fully understand.
Like I said, I support it, but I know this place. Now, each one of these commissioners gonna start getting calls about Monday. I guarantee you that's gonna happen.
But I'm assuming at this point, you don't have all the answers for those landowners and business owners until you do at least some preliminary work.
We haven't done a tremendous amount of preliminary work, and I don't know what has been, what you all have seen on this or not.
Nothing.
Sure.
Have you seen anything?
I had earlier.
I know, but we just saw it today.
I had earlier been under the assumption, and I understand about assumptions fully, that you all had copies of this presented to you.
Sorry, folks. We do.
Turn it so that people can see
Other
it.
way,
Turn it around.
flip it. Flip it.
Yeah, that's good.
Then you can't see my accident. It's on.
I can hear you. I can hear you. I hear you holler.
Okay, so this is it in a nutshell. Where you see the black is where there'll be a turn lane right through here, and they'll be able to turn around and come back. Go to median right here. The people coming into the store will be able to come in here and turn left. They'll turn left in. They'll turn right out. The people here will be turn in here. The people
They ain't
that
going to
would like
that
to
store.
access these locations prior to this turn are going to come up, go into this protected left turn, come over here, turn around, go back and do a right turn into the business, or right turn into the house. Down here, it's the same way. We're putting a larger turn in here to handle it, to take care of the trucks at the training center. And we've got a turnaround here for the people who are in this vicinity right here, where they're gonna turn around and go back. So basically where you see black is a median.
And the highest concentration of accidents are where?
The highest concentration of accidents right now are at Neck Road, and then right here at the college entrance.
That would be me.
Oh, we don't hear about it.
So this is where we're at right now, but you understand, this is basically, we just took a overhead shot of this and drew some very preliminary lines on here. It's my intention to take this to the folks and the businesses and talk through this and see if we can, what we need to tweak on here in order to go forward and get into a better design. This is very preliminary. This isn't a big enough project, and there's not, like I said, there's not enough money in this to do a long-term feasibility study. There is enough time, I think, though, to go ahead and communicate with everybody, which we fully intend to do.
Any other discussion? Have a motion and a second on the floor.
This is the support, letter support.
Letter of support. All those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and I would anticipate that we will be out before Monday meeting.
Thank you. Bill, he's retired, so he'll go along with you if you need somebody to.
No, you
help.
just move the meeting to the courthouse where the people don't like it.
This is crashed it.
Okay, we're down to item number 5, Public Safety Building Project, Community College, Dr. Tansey.
You coming, Wesley? Wesley is marked tonight. Several months ago, when we talked to you about the public safety building over on the east side of campus as a part of the Connect and See bond, you referenced go find a grant. We did. We hunted, we searched, we worked with the EDA on a grant. We turned it every which way but loose, and we finally decided a couple of weeks ago it was like putting a silk hat on a pig, because it didn't fit. They did not like our concepts because it didn't meet their criteria. They were looking for lots of manufacturing jobs, and no matter what we did and moving things around to include in that building, we could not satisfy their requirements and numbers. So we abandoned that. At one time, we talked a little bit about a USDA grant or loan, excuse me. We don't recommend that. But tonight, we're asking that you give us the approval to go ahead with the Connect and See bond money to build the public safety building, and then work with you on our capital improvements as they come along, rather than you paying interest and getting nothing in return. So we're wide open for questions that you might have, but what we need is a signed 3-1 form that we can send up the road to get the state started on it if we can.
Is this basically the same square footage as what we originally planned for?
Pretty much. When you get down, and you might help me, Wesley, when you get down to the design, there might be some modifications in square footage as they build it. They might separate the storage from the main building. I don't know what that design's going to look like at this point because we can't go that far without approval.
And I guess the bathrooms are going to be in the main building, what I read.
Bathrooms and showers, yes.
Right, okay.
Mhm.
Be back down to 2 classrooms and 2 offices in there, and then storage and mechanical space and so forth.
Is that all your allocation to do this project?
There'll be a dribble left over, hopefully. But as you guys are aware, construction prices are going up now. We've got a pretty good contingency built in there, but if we don't make a move soon, I don't know. And whatever's left, of course, then we'll revisit and look at some of our capital needs that we can tie to instruction, which would probably be in Building 4.
How much of the available funds are going to be used for this building?
$2 million.
We have available, what, 6?
Well, we don't have 6 left anymore. We're working on the ADA portion. That was the elevators and the realignment of sidewalks, et cetera, on campus and security on doors. That was, you have the exact numbers.
Okay, so the ADA upgrades project, which is already underway, $749,474. The driving pad without any building and so forth that y'all approved a month or so ago, and we've gotten state approval on that as of this past week. That's $3,494,000, which leaves about 2.3, roughly 2.3 million. This is almost right at 2 billion. So we'll have about 300,000 still left of the 6.5 million.
What are your outstanding capital needs?
Well, there's a long list in our facility master plan, and we didn't bring that with us again tonight. We have shared that with you before.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. You've got a couple $1 million that I know about of needs that you could use this money for rather than to build the building.
You can't exactly use it straight across. I think you remember when the state folks came and talked to you, it needs to be linked to instruction. That's
Right.
why we have set this up and planned it out the way we have. And that's why for the leftover funds that we might have, we would go to Building 4 because we can tie it directly into instruction and replace some of those HVAC units that are in that building.
And we'd still have about $1.5 million of capital needs after this project, after you do, if you did all of what you just described.
I have no idea without having our master plan in front of me.
It depends on how you define capital needs. And we've got a very long list of things
No, I mean things you could use the money for in the bond.
in the bond for, and
can.
Some of it, we can't use it for that.
We'd have to do, we'd be able to do minimal, I think, on the air conditioning. We'd have to do some upgrades to some educational space with that money.
Then, otherwise it
To
wouldn't
meet the-
qualify.
Meet the requirements of the bond. So we would get a little bit of air conditioning and upgrades done, but not very much. And-
Yeah, well, that's what I'm getting at. I don't think this is a good use of money. I think you're building a building, I don't appreciate the use of the building, quite frankly, and maybe it's because I'm not gonna be using the building. I think it's better to use that money to improve the existing campus, because your enrollment is dropping, and we're building more buildings that the county has to spend more and more maintenance money on. We're gonna spend the maintenance and upkeep on this stuff after it's built. You know, it makes it difficult for me to support the use of the money, because I think we're misusing the money.
Our enrollment has flattened, and we're seeing an uptick. Not a lot yet,
Chairman.
but
I make a motion to be allowed to proceed.
Second.
Got a motion on the floor and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. All those opposed? Vote 6-1.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you for looking at DOT. We have approached them numerous times. It was nice when they finally approached us with the plan. So thank
Did you
you.
get in the wreck out there?
Terrible question.
I want to see the list.
Okay, we're down to item number 6, permission to place tax accounts for tax year 2006 in uncollectible status. When?
Yes, sir. I would like to request permission to do that because I have, by going beyond 10 years, the liability is still outstanding, but I have lost my lien capabilities for it. With our new computer system, I can place it in an uncollectible status versus writing it off. Still have access to it in case somebody comes in and buys the property or some other things transpire. Still have the ability to collect that back tax. So I've lost all my means by doing it by garnishments and other things that I can do. So I would like to request permission just to take 2006 and place it in uncollectible status. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Any questions?
I got one question. If somebody comes in and wants to buy that foreclosure, they got to pay taxes on it.
They do. Foreclosures, and I'm sorry, Commissioners, foreclosures are different because we have legal actions going on those. So once the suit is recorded, it can go back beyond the 10 years because the judgment has been served on it. So those are that way, and if we have any payment plans, which we do not, but if we did, we would allow those to continue to pay out.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Unanimous.
I got a question for you before you leave, Joe. Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I've been looking over this list here and the parcels that we have sent over to Zacchaeus. And every time I look at it, it makes me sick on my stomach. $234. We send it over, and some old lady got to pay $700 to an attorney. Here's one for $55. Attorney fees.
And
I know you said it's old stuff, but how can we clean it up?
I'm trying to work with the attorney to get it cleaned up, but what has transpired when this was originally sent over is other years continue to add to it.
But this here says 16. April 16, April 15. I can understand. $55. If I owed you $55.
What it is a lot of times we're adding properties to what's already in foreclosure.
Okay.
So that's why you're seeing the $55 to $60 because it's already in foreclosure. By law, I have to turn it over to him because we already have it in foreclosure. So if there's any outstanding liabilities, he requests that information from me.
Well, I understand that, but it just bothers me. Here comes something later on.
Commissioner, we have tried to make a better effort on this, and I've told y'all that from day one.
It's the guy up the road, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But we're working on making sure of what we send over.
Well, next time you see him, you please tell him that you got a commissioner that when he see $55 and somebody pay him $800, for him $800 to get $55, it gives me heartburn. Please tell him that.
I will pass that message along, Commissioner. Is there anything else?
Thank you, Wynn.
Yes, sir.
Jim, will you or Randy see if that air conditioner can? Huh? It's what?
Yeah.
Christina's working on it.
She's working on it. We go much longer, we're gonna take our ties and our coats off. Okay, John, you're up. Bid approval for HMA 2014 elevations.
Yes, sir. We sent the bid proposals out, the RFP, we got them back. We had 5 different companies this time bid, which is good. The more companies you have bidding, normally the better you do in the price structures. This time, for the first time that Holland can remember, we did have a tie on one particular house. And we followed the procedures as outlined in your briefing package to determine who should receive that. And so therefore, sir, I would submit to you, unless subject to your questions, I recommend that Board of Commissioners approve the recommended contractors for the houses that were selected, which would be Harrelson for the 128 Pungo Trail, J.E. Delahunt for the 1044 Old Mill Road, Bellhaven, and Everett for the 338 Lamont Street, Bellhaven. Subject to your questions.
Any questions of John? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Got a motion and a second. Second by Evans. All those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Unanimous. Ladies and gentlemen, we're down to our break. We'll be back in 10 minutes.
Meeting outside.
Okay, we're down to item number 8, 2016 Disaster Recovery Program Grant. Ann Williams. Ann?
I thought we were moving the action items for 6, 7, and 8.
Going to the bottom.
We're going to the tail end.
Let's go into the tail end. Okay.
Yes,
All
yes,
right.
sir. Okay, Ian, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Hurricane Matthew, Tropical Storms Julia and Hermine, and the western wildfires caused significant property damages. As a result, the Disaster Recovery Act of 2016 was passed by the North Carolina General Assembly on December 15, 2016, to assist with repairs to damaged properties. Through the Division of Soil and Water Conservation, $12.2 million was appropriated for stream repair and debris removal, farm pond repairs, and non-field farm road repairs. My office, and more particularly the district's resource specialist, has been working closely with Beaufort County Drainage District personnel to assess their storm-related damages. 2 applications have been submitted to the Division of Soil and Water Conservation to assist these drainage districts. Those applications totaled $441,700. They assisted 5 drainage districts. If the applications are approved, the repair projects will be accomplished in the same manner as the district's previous stream debris removal projects. Participation in the disaster recovery program will be of no cost to Beaufort County. It's anticipated that administrative and technical assistance provided during the program by district staff will be reimbursed by a yet-to-be-determined percentage. The Beaufort Soil and Water Conservation District's Board of Supervisors recommend and request your support and approval of their participation in the disaster recovery program.
So moved.
Got a motion?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any questions of Ann?
Just a comment.
Yes.
Last week at our convention, one of our speakers said they hadn't heard so much about snag and drag until after Hurricane Matthew. So maybe we'll get some money down
Oh,
there.
I hope so.
Thank you, that's all.
Any other comments, questions? All those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ann.
In the ditches, though.
Item number 9, the award asbestos removal contract for the old First Bank building. Christina?
Good evening, Commissioners. As you recall, the county purchased the old First Bank building, which is located on 2nd Street adjacent to the courthouse. We are in the process of looking at a different use of that building. So the first step in doing a construction project such as that is to, due to the age of the building, was to do an asbestos survey of the building. So we completed that, and we did find there were, I believe, 60 samples that were taken, and 3 came back positive. That would be in the mastic of the floor, of the carpet mastic, so basically the glue that holds the carpet down. And that's the only location where we found the asbestos. So we then issued an RFP for pricing to remove the asbestos from the building before we go in and do any type of renovation, and that's what I have presented to you tonight. Rimtech was the low bidder.
One question, wasn't that building checked for asbestos before purchase?
Not by the county, not that I'm aware of.
I thought that's something that we always did before we purchased the building. Okay, thank you.
That's in the original part of the building.
Actually, no, it's in
It's
the
not?
addition.
In the addition.
It was,
Okay, you've heard the recommendation.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Brand. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Evans. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Unanimous? Okay. Thank you. We're down to item number 10. Accept the Industrial Development Fund Utility Account Grant. Martin?
Okay. Good evening, Commissioners. Come before you tonight to ask you to accept Industrial Development Fund Utility Account Grant. Back in December, you approved submitting this grant to the Department of Commerce, and that grant has been approved. It's for $337,000 to install 3,300 linear feet of 8-inch pipe to Heisecat boats nearby. I think you have a copy of the agreement. The Heisecat will have a promissory note to back up the grant if they don't create the jobs. The number of new jobs to be created is 10 on a base of 8 retained jobs. So I request the acceptance of the grant to authorize the execution of the grant documents and to pass an ordinance to establish a grant project fund as well. Any questions?
Any questions of Martin? Okay. Entertain a motion to accept the grant.
So
Motion by Commissioner Evans. Second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Buzzio. Any questions? No discussion? All those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Unanimous.
Thank you.
We're down to item number 11. That's you, Martin, amend the Beaufort County Industrial Park at Chakawinity Declaration of Covenants, Conditions and Restrictions.
Yes, this is similar to what we did last month with the Washington Beaufort County Industrial Park. The Chakawinity covenants talk about the Beaufort County Economic Development Commission, and so similarly to last month, we need to request that you change that to read Beaufort County Economic Development Advisory Board, wherever it says so in the covenants, and then to have that document filed.
Any?
So moved.
Okay, got a motion by Commissioner Brin, second by Commissioner Booth. Any questions, comments? All those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Everybody must want to go home.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Martin. Okay, we're down to Charters of Freedom Project, Commissioner Brin.
Yeah, last meeting, Mr. Ron Lewis from Freedom Project came in and gave us a presentation, and I think that most of the people that I talked with, or everybody that I talked with, said that they thought it was a good project to take on. So what I did is I set up a meeting here at the office for a group of bankers and people that I thought would support the project going forward. And we had a meeting, and Mr. Lewis came in and gave us another presentation. We had a chance to answer some questions. So I've set a committee up to look at hammering out all the final details. We're going to meet tomorrow at 4 o'clock on that. And the city manager will be there, the county manager, myself, can't remember what his last name is. The guy that's in charge of the Arbor District, I can't remember what his name is right now. But anyway, we're going to meet there and find out all the things that we need to do and how we're going to go about asking for the financing for it. And so I'll have a report for you next month, and I'd like to make a motion that the county support our efforts in getting these monuments made.
Got a motion on the floor. Is there a second to Commissioner Brand's motion?
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Buzzio. Comments, questions?
Well, I have a question. Commissioner Brand, does that mean that you anticipate the county providing financing for this project?
No, absolutely not. No
Okay.
dollars. No
All right.
dollars come from the county.
All right, I can support it.
It'll all the dollars will come from businessmen and donations.
Okay, anybody else? All right, all those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Okay, unanimous. We're down to item number,
Thank you all.
yeah. Down to item number 13, health, dental, and mental care protocols for Beaufort County Detention Center. Commissioner Richardson.
Well, this is in the form of a motion that the Health Department, since the commissioners voted that the Health Department would be providing mental, dental, and general health programs or benefits or services to jailed inmates, is what are the protocols for that? I can see a lot of things happening based on some of the things that were said at the last meeting, that the intent was to improve the general health of the prisoner. If you're providing dental and mental and physical, for instance, in the case of dental, how are you going to decide what is going to be provided? If they need braces, for instance, are you going to do braces? If they need extractions, are you going to provide extractions? If they need fillings, are you going to provide fillings? If they have pyorrhea, are you going to provide surgery? The protocols need to be set out because we have already had a problem with the jail in the past when people would get into jail so they could winter in jail. And some of that has happened. So this is a request that the Department of Health provide the protocols so that we can, number one, be sure that people are treated fairly. And I just used dental as an example, but mental health. For instance, if people come into the jail, are we going to diagnose their mental condition? Are we going to provide psychological services? Are we going to provide psychiatric services? And under what conditions and when do we start providing these services? Okay? And the same thing goes for physical health. Are we going to provide, for instance, pneumococcal pneumonia shots? Are we going to provide flu shots free of charge? Are we going to, they mentioned that 12 days in jail, they were going to get a physical. The protocols need to be laid out in writing so that these costs can be controlled. Otherwise, we're going to have a system where some people are going to get a lot of service and some people are going to get very little service. My theory on the jail still is that that our program is to keep people out of jail, not to keep people in jail, in which case they don't need the services. We have one inmate, and I've got to go through my paperwork again to be sure that I'm correct in this, but we have one inmate that we're paying $2,000 a month in medical services for. And everybody is sitting here fat, dumb, and happy and letting the good times roll. We do not have a screening program to eliminate high-cost patients. If someone needs $2,000 a month in medical services, chances are they're not going to run very far if you send them home. You know? A little bit of common sense goes into this, and I don't think we've got it, and I don't think we're getting it. But I'll go back and say, my motion is for the Board of Health at the next meeting, at the April meeting, to provide the protocols for providing health services, including mental and dental, to jail inmates. That's a motion.
Brian?
I'm not going to speak for Mr. Madsen, but I'm not sure they're at that point yet. I mean, they will write those protocols. It's an agreement between, or it's a procedure between the provider, the medical provider, who they haven't contracted with yet, the health director, the jail administrator, and the statutory requirements of what they're required to do.
Well, wait just a minute now. Wait just a minute. We weren't talking about having a contractor. When this was presented, we have a contractor now. We weren't talking about a new contractor. We're talking about a new contractor.
No. I mean, Jim's group doesn't do dental work. I mean, he's not going to hire a dentist.
So that doesn't mean they can't write the protocols.
Well, right. That's what I'm saying. There's currently protocols in place right now that address those. Am I not correct? And those have got to be addressed with the new provider. Mr. Madsen is hiring a provider, a medical provider. And that medical control will help write those protocols, just like the medical director writes protocols for EMS, those things.
Well, wait a minute now. Those protocols need to be approved by the Board of County Commissioners.
I'm not sure. I don't know. I think they can be presented to you. I'm not sure. That's a good question.
Well, wait a minute now. You talked about what the law requires. I can recite to you what the law requires. The law only requires that we provide emergency services to inmates and that we do screenings for tuberculosis and venereal disease. You know, if you're going to provide that and you're going to stick with the state law, then we're going to save some money for what we're doing now. But what you guys are saying to me is that you're going to provide a lot more services than this, and I think you need to define those services as to what the county's going to provide, and I think those services those protocols need to be approved by the Board of County Commissioners.
Excuse me, Mr. Manager, doesn't the health department have a board that approves that?
The health department does have a board that they work with.
They don't approve that. This is our money. This is not board money from the Board of Health. This is county taxpayers' money.
Let the Board of Health approve what they need to, and let the Board of Health then bring it to us.
That's wrong.
It's all right with me if you want to do that. I don't want this thing to get stretched out forever.
Gentlemen, we're going to have to have a second on the motion to continue this discussion. According to our rules, we have to have a second before we go into this much discussion, other than the person that made the motion. So do we have a second? It dies.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It appears as though the people in the jail are going to get better services than your children do at home. The next item.
Next item, go ahead, Hood.
Farragut reports. One of the things that's come to light to me lately is we contracted about 3 years ago with a company called Farragut to provide a computer tax system for the county to modernize what we had. There were certain goals that were set out in that contract. The first goal was that we be able to reconcile when deposits were made. When they came to the finance office, that those deposits be reconciled by computer. And the reconciliation in this case is dividing the money, because when someone comes in and pays their taxes, they are paying for drainage district taxes, they're paying for fire district taxes, possibly for EMS district taxes, probably city taxes in several municipalities, and then county taxes. Well, that was having to be reconciled by hand, if you will, by taking each bill, writing a little column, totaling those things up, and then making sure it closed. It could be very time-consuming. That was one of the first goals when we went to Farragut. And I have just discovered when we did our retreat that we haven't even met the first goal. The first thing that we wanted to do with the new system, we haven't accomplished yet. We're still reconciling it. Thank goodness the finance officer had taken it on, the way I found out about it was by accident, took it on as a project, as one of her goals to get done. And I support her wholeheartedly in doing this. But I've also heard rumblings other places that this system is not doing what it's supposed to be doing. So I'll make my motion based on that. And we've put Hood's estimate, $800,000 into this. Quite frankly, I don't think the county can tell you how much money we put into it. My motion is that the finance officer, the tax collector, the tax assessor prepare a report for the commissioners describing the faults or the shortcomings of the system and what needs to be corrected, if anything. If there's nothing to be corrected, I want them to certify in writing there's nothing to be corrected and sign it. Because this thing has gone on now for 3 years, and every time I turn around, it's $50,000 here and $60,000 there to do something. And we are still not there. This is bad management. The bad management goes to this board. This is going across 3 different county managers, so you can't blame a county manager now. It's this board's fault. This has not been managed. This has not been looked at, and I want to put it to bed. And I want the county to get us to have a system that we can actually use instead of finding out in 3 years from now, oh, we knew all along it wasn't doing that. I want to know where the problems are, all of the problems, not some of the problems. That's my motion.
There's a motion on the floor. Before we have more discussion, we need a second. I hear no second. Okay. Moving to item number originally 17, request for the Hospital Authority Board Report on the trust fund balance, Commissioner Hood Richardson.
When I was chairman of the hospital board, we had about $6.4 million in the hospital trust fund. This was a trust fund to back up trailing liabilities from the giveaway of the Beaufort County Hospital to Vidant. That amount of money has been going down. Ron Buzzio is chairman of that board at the moment, and that amount of money has been spent down. I was at the last board meeting, and very pointedly and carefully, they didn't hand out the bank statements, but you get the bank statements by email every month. So I want Ron Buzzio at the next meeting to report to this board on the amount of money that was in the fund when he took over as chairman, what he has spent the money for, and the amount of money that is in the trust fund at this point in time. This is important because that board is considering dissolving that fund and the county assuming the trailing liabilities so that they can cover for the high amount of spending that's been going on for a lot of other things in the county. And I want Ron Buzzio to report at the next meeting what I just said. The amount of money that's in the fund when he got the fund, the amount of money that he spent, what he spent it for since he's been chairman, and the amount of money that's in the fund now. And I want to see a bank statement.
Did you make a motion?
That's a motion.
Okay. Is there a second to the motion? I hear no second. I have asked Commissioner Buzzio to comment on the hospital authority and give us an update of.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Back in I should say, there was an audit done by Wilson, Jones, and Griffith that covered the period of September 1st, 2011 through August 4th, 2015. At our next board meeting, we'll ask the board to approve another audit done by the same firm that will cover the period August 4th, close of business, or August 5th, 2015 to the present time, if and when to the present time to cover the period of the board. As of December 31st, 2016, we had $4.5 million left in the fund. The million plus that Mr. Richardson, Commissioner Richardson was talking about was deducted by about $1.8 million. There was a 3-month period just before the closure of the acquisition of Hospital Vidant. It was a 3-month period. And during that period of time, the hospital was on the verge of bankruptcy. And they were submitting bills to Palmetto, which was a contract to CRM, to the government. The bills were submitted properly with a code. When Palmetto received those documents, they transposed the codes and they submitted it to the government. So during that period, Vidant Hospital received about $1.7 million, $1.8 million. I don't have the exact figure off the top of my head. Nobody at Beaufort Hospital picked that up. Nobody picked that up. So in effect, they got a loan, an interest-free loan, that probably kept them afloat till Vidant acquired it. And I'm not saying that's what happened, but it's probably happened. But nobody picked it up. Well, the government came to us about 3 or 4 months ago and said, hey, hospital authority, you owe us that money. You have to pay that money, and there's a federal law that says if we overpay you, you got to pay us. So that's what drew the money down from 6.4, whatever it was, down to $4.5 million as of December 31st. And that was a liability against the hospital authority, and so we had to pay that plus interest. Now, we talked to our attorneys, we talked to our chief financial officer, the board discussed in detail, should we appeal it? Should we appeal the payment? Should we appeal the interest? And the advice we got was, and the board decided, the hospital authority decided unanimously not to appeal it because we'd lose anyway. 2 or 3 years, how much would we spend? $200,000, $300,000, $500,000, and end up losing anyway. So we went ahead and paid the money. So yes, have we gone from $6+ million down to $4+ million? Yes, we have. Because of that overpayment for a 3-month period, when nobody at Beaufort Hospital picked that up. Now, I don't blame them. I may fault the hospital authority at that time, but I don't blame the hospital because they were on the verge of bankruptcy. People worried about their jobs. People were more worried about the health of those patients and taking care of the patients in the hospital. So nobody picked that up. We had to pay the money out of that. That's what happened to the money. But I assured the chairman and other members of the board that the committee will fund an audit that will cover that period from the last audit that ended August 4, 2015 to the present time, if and when the board finally ends their function. And that the hospital authority will make that decision to go forward with that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, item number 18, the boat ramp property at Durham Creek. Brian?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This is the property that you discussed at the last meeting and sent a couple of commissioners down to review and look at, and you've heard some discussion on tonight. So we, again, are just seeking your direction on how you want to, what you want to do with that piece of property.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
As Bryant stated, Ron, myself, and him went down and looked at this property. And after we went down, I have had several calls in reference to this property. And if I'm in order, I make a motion that we just leave it alone as is. I mean, I have heard so many people say this is all we have. I mean, we fish here. It's good fishing here. We can't get out to the rivers nowhere but else here, or going around another way, or way out of the way. And I think we should just leave it alone, let the people enjoy it as they've been enjoying it.
So you made the motion?
Yes, sir.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Evans. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, as Commissioner Booth mentioned, we went down and looked at the property, the boat ramp, and some residents down there, as you heard, had gone ahead and repaired that pier. It's a nice-looking place. And I also had a number of calls over the weekend, and I had some even today before I came to the meeting, asking us if we would leave it for them to utilize. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Brian and David, the reason this came up last month on the agenda was that this was one of the properties that the county received through foreclosure?
No.
You're shaking your head.
No.
Okay.
We determined that the county owned it since 1911.
Okay.
And an adjacent property owner made an offer to buy the property.
So that's why it came up.
That started the whole thing. And that deposit's been returned to them. So it's just nothing right now. subject to what you all decide to do about the property.
Want to ask a question? Well, you know, when I made the motion to, I think I made the motion, to dispose of these properties as rapidly as we could have been foreclosed on, but I don't think we should be trying to get rid of anything that hasn't been foreclosed on, because it's there for a purpose unless you can determine to bring to the board that it's no longer useful for the county.
But there was an offer on the table.
We went to him.
Oh.
Right, I mean, so is the board saying now that you only want us to just try to just get rid of county-owned property that's been foreclosed and not other county-owned property? My understanding from the board was you didn't want to be in the real estate business. You wanted us to get rid of the property if we could.
But I think if it's foreclosed property, yes, because obviously we don't need that. But I think, Brian, if you determine that a piece of property is no longer useful to the county, I think just bring it to the board before you offer it to somebody.
Well, and that's why we brought it to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you have to approve that anyway.
No, I mean before it's even offered to somebody, before it's even talked to the adjoining property owners.
Well,
Okay, well, I mean,
they came to us.
What I'm saying is that.
He came to us?
What I'm saying is.
Oh, okay, I didn't understand it that way.
But let me explain to you the reason. We've put together a book of all the properties that the county owns. And what we were going to do was send out feelers to people who live beside that and say, hey, the county owns a piece of property right here. Are you interested? But.
I think that's a good idea.
But I can't do that based upon what you just said.
No. No, that's not what I said. If it's foreclosed property, if it's tax foreclosed property, that's fair game. We need to be trying to get rid of that any way we can. If it's a piece of property that the county purchased, like this piece of property, then, and you determine that you have no use for it, then I think you should come to the commissioners and say, this is a piece of property you purchased. The rest of it, you don't even need to come to us on.
Mr. Chairman.
I guess the only thing I want to clarify, though, is it's very difficult for us to know exactly that without doing a title search on it.
Oh.
So, I mean, if we run into an issue with a piece of property like we discovered this one, we would bring it to you and say, I mean, because it's got to come to you anyway under an upset bid process. It has to come back to you. And if you say, no, we don't want to do that, that's fine.
Well, I think those guys over in the tax office got enough information to look at a piece of property and tell you whether there's a courthouse on it or a school on it, and we don't need to be trying to sell this.
No, we're not trying to sell property that we have structures on.
Right.
But we have a lot of property spread across the county that's vacant, that either has been given to us or acquired by us for some reason, has been foreclosed upon.
All of that's fair game as far as I'm concerned.
Well,
I mean, I'm not trying to slow that down.
Right, and that's our process.
Okay.
We wanna make sure that we don't.
Let's go ahead and disclose of this one. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any other discussion on this motion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand.
I'm voting on this. This is the same piece of property that I told you about a conflict
Yes,
on last
that's
time,
all
but I'm
right.
voting to keep it,
That's
so
all
I
right.
don't see it as a conflict. now.
Unanimous. There's no money being transferred here.
Yeah, right.
Okay. All right, we're down to item number 19, Board of Equalization and Review Schedule. Cindy? I looked for Bobby, but I didn't see him, so.
He's out tonight. He's got strep throat.
Oh, thank you for
He
not
needs to be
coming.
out.
Thank you for not coming.
What we need is 3 nights for the Board of Equalization Review, sometime 3 nights in April. And what we'd like to do, if possible, is have 3 days between the second meeting, 5 days between the second meeting and the last meeting, so that we can give notice where we can have an early adjournment.
Okay, so you want to start, you want to do it in April?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Is there any way we can, Mr. Chairman, any way we can send our dates in tomorrow?
She gonna give them to you now.
Excuse me?
She gonna give them to you now.
I don't have my calendar with me.
We only need 4.
You only need 4.
only need 4 people.
We only need 4 at a meeting.
Let's go ahead and choose the dates, and hopefully we'll be able to have at least 4 to do each one of them.
That's, 11th is a Tuesday, and then we have Wednesday.
Excuse me.
And then meet again on the 24th.
Excuse me just a second. The 11th and the 12th, we've got a users conference. I'm sorry, we've got,
11th, 12th, and 24th are out.
right.
You guys have a meeting on the 24th in the evening, and they have meetings on the 11th and 12th.
Right.
So we're looking at the 18th being the first available Tuesday?
What she got down? What you got?
Is that,
We're open except for the 11th and the 12th.
okay.
And just as a reminder, the 16th is Easter.
and we are closed on the 14th.
So the 18th and 19th are good?
Yes.
They're good with everybody?
That's fine. I won't be there on the 19th, but as long as you have 4, you're good.
Okay. So that's 2, that's 2, and you need, how many days? 5 days?
5 days, yes, sir.
Maybe 25th.
Is the 25th too quick?
That's 5 days.
6 days.
Well, it depends on whether you're talking business days.
No, I think 25th will work.
Or you want to go to the 27th on Thursday?
I'd rather go on the 27th. I got something that could come up
All
on
right.
the 25th. Y'all
Let's,
don't
let's
mind.
do the 27th. What time does it start?
Well, now, we've been having it at 5,
Okay.
but if you want to change it to 5:30?
That's fine with me. 5 is good enough.
5 is good with me.
5 is good.
All right.
All right, now you're gonna load us up with people. We're not gonna be sitting in here playing mumbledy pig or something, waiting on people.
We're going to do the best we can.
Let them do the waiting, not us.
We'll try.
Okay.
Thank you, Jim.
You need anything else, Cindy?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank y'all.
All right, we're down to item number 20, the appointment of Commissioner to the Juvenile Crime Prevention Committee. Katie?
Yes, sir. You had already appointed Commissioner to that board. He was not able to attend those meetings, and so I'm asking for another commissioner to be appointed
Who's
to
up
that
in there?
board. They meet once a month.
Who's on the board now?
Mr.
Evans? Okay.
Jerry
We
Langman?
get King Chicken at lunchtime.
I'll go back. Used to be on.
With one breakfast.
You can have it.
I move that Commissioner Brin fill that.
And what days do they meet?
It's on, I think it's the third
Who else is on there?
Wednesday, but I'll have to double check for you.
And that's once a month.
At lunchtime, but we do have one meeting a year. I think it's when we have the joint meeting. Right on the Thursday? Is it Thursday? Yeah, that's why I stuttered over that, because I think it is on Thursday.
Got a motion, is there a second for Commissioner Brin to fill that?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Evans. All those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Unanimous, thank you. Okay, now we're good to the consent items.
All right, I'm gonna lump 6 and 7 together because the question is the same. I cannot identify, so the public will know what's going on. These are refunds that are made by 2 different taxing departments. Number one, if it's revalued, it's done by the tax assessor. If it's involves a payment, like a double payment or something, the refund is made by the tax collector. So there's 2 departments involved in this, but the question is the same. I cannot identify from the schedules that you're giving me where the properties are. And I'm asking you, can you identify this by PIN number? And if it's personal property, which someone pointed out, just say personal property. If I need more information, I'll come to you. But I need to be able to identify those properties as to where they are, because right now I've just got a bunch of numbers that don't mean anything except to you guys. Will that work?
That would be a possibility to work. We also could do a parcel number, because both of those are looked up on the GI.
Parcel number, that 10-digit parcel number works for me.
The parcel number is 5-digit.
I know, but a 10-digit number, I can put it where it belongs with that. That other number's a account number. Look and see if you can do with a parcel number, but I'll live with whatever I can find. All I care about is finding the property. Well, that's a motion.
Okay, we got a motion. Hey, we're going to group those 2 together in that motion?
Yes.
Is that okay?
Yes.
Got a motion, is there a second?
Second.
All right, okay, we got a motion and a second to approve the tax assessor's refunds and the acceptance of the federal mitigation fund. No, I'm sorry. Tax refunds over 100,000.
100.
Over 100, yeah.
You got your glasses on, Frank.
It's a sweat. Okay, and the tax assessor's refunds. All those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Unanimous. All right.
All right, the last item has to do with John Pack and these grants and things that he's doing. The conditions on most of the grants that he's doing for house raisings involve that the property owner puts up 10% of the money, and it also requires that there be a deed restriction that goes with the property. That particular restriction says that you're using federal funds for this, so you've got to buy flood insurance on the property as long as the flood program's in effect. And what I want to be sure of, John, is that before the county, or we put one dime of the grant money into this project, that we have their 10% deposit in our hand, and that the deed restriction has been filed at the courthouse.
Yes, sir. That is part of the North Carolina Emergency Management contract that's been signed, and it specifically states that. And you'll also find that in the one grant that we have, it's 9010, in the budget amendment that's in there, there's a specific line there for that 10% funding. And Holland Consulting is not permitted to enter into a construction contract on a structure until the money has been received and deposited by the finance officer of Beaufort County.
And the deed restriction's been reported too.
The deed restriction, there is money, I put money in the budgets to pay for the deed restrictions being attached to the deeds or a rewrite of the deeds as necessary, Commissioner. Yes, sir.
Well, to make sure that this works, I make a motion that the Holland Consulting cannot proceed with any contract until the deed restriction has been recorded and the 10% deposit is in their hand. That is a motion.
Question,
Yes.
isn't it doing that now?
Sir, there were some problems back in 2010 and 2011 with that process, and let's just say there were some problems. So we have put things into their contract with Holland to ensure that that same thing does not happen again on our end, and our finance officer's done a great job of setting up these budget amendments to ensure, and that's just on the one grant. Now, I would like to suggest one thing. Sir, your motion was any contract. FEMA requires us to go ahead and make sure we do a feasibility prior to, which can be paid for with federal funds, but the key is we can't move forward with anything till we have that 10% in our coffers for construction contractual.
Right.
For the construction.
And again, I harp on the deed restrictions because, as you know, once
sir.
the house is finished and the deal is closed out and almost completed, you're not going to get your money in a lot of cases, and you're not going to get your deed restrictions on record that the contract requires. And what I'm trying to do is to protect the county and make sure that people do what they're supposed to do. So that's my motion.
And there are provisions there that would allow for that because we hold back a certain amount of funding until we have finished everything with that project. And we hold back Holland's funding that they would be receiving a certain percentage of that until all these satisfactions are made for the county.
So all that's already in play, is that correct?
Yes, sir. We've been doing it now since 2011.
It depends on how good your management is and who's looking at this and who's managing this, and that's why my motion is important.
You already got a second.
Oh, we already got a second, okay.
You gonna talk yourself right out of it.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Now, are you including the recommendation to approve the grant?
No. This is a procedural matter that the grant cannot go forward until both of these items have been satisfied.
I got a question. I got a question on that one now, since you said that. I mean, we can apply for,
Yes, go ahead.
We can apply for the grant. I thought you were talking about the person can't get no work until he gets.
That's right. That's exactly what I was
We
talking
want to apply for the grant.
Oh, no, I'm not stopping all of that. It's a procedural matter in that the benefits from the grant cannot accrue to the person who is the beneficiary of the grant until they have complied with these two items.
So what you're saying, this don't pertain to applying for the.
No, it doesn't have a thing to do with applying for a grant.
And what we're asking you to do here, sir, is to accept the grants that have already been given to us. The procedural issue comes in the way that Holland does business and whoever replaces me supervises Holland.
Two motions.
Okay, we got
Do
to
we
have
need
two
two
motions, so we got one on the floor, that's a procedure. We got a motion and a second. Any more discussion on that? All right, all those in favor of that, raise your right hand. That's unanimous. Now, we still need a motion to accept the grant.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Unanimous. There is no other items on the agenda, so I'll entertain. Which one?
Thank you all for my
All those
last
in favor,
meeting.
raise your right hand.